All right, this is a topic that I am very passionate about. We have all sorts of gadgets in the workforce. There are 4 generations in the workforce right now. It's certainly coming at us, and we have to move forward with it. I'm going to briefly talk about 3 game-changing trends, and I believe these are game-changing because it's not about business as usual. These are trends that you need to know, not just nice to know. So let's dive in with the first trend that focuses on the workplace. This is Seth Godin. He's one of my all-time favorite bloggers, and Seth describes a workplace where companies hire only essential employees and they outsource the rest. So think about your job and where that might fall in that dynamic. Time magazine had a recent article about the future of work. They described it as more flexible, more freelance, and more collaborative. We're also seeing much more project orientation in the workplace. Well, that's great news for the baby boomers, the working parents, maybe new college grads who are all attracted to more flexible employment options. And we need to be thinking about how to attract them to our organizations. Maybe it's 4-day work weeks, non-traditional work hours, could be a number of things. So beyond the workplace, let's look at the workforce. We now probably work with members who are middle-aged men and women, not the 20-somethings generally speaking, but they're coming. They're coming up through the ranks, and they're quickly changing the rules of engagement. These are also known as digital natives, the now generation. These are individuals who expect things instantaneously, on demand, and we are the ones who will need to adapt to their world. The biggest change is certainly in the tools that we're using. People have been involved in communities and networks since the beginning of time, but technology is taking that concept to a whole new level. And there's a lot more sharing going on that many of us are comfortable with. That, too, is not going away. So here's a typical membership coordinator. This is Ashley. She has roughly 500 Facebook friends. These are a combination of people that she's met personally and professionally over the last few years. How you reach Ashley is through her friends, not through traditional messaging. This is Heather. Heather's a Gen Xer, and for the most part, she embraces this new concept of community, but she still keeps her Facebook friends separate from her LinkedIn connections. Heather's doing her job differently these days. She's using Twitter, she's using YouTube as her primary search engines. She's managing a number of LinkedIn groups. She's crowdsourcing ideas with people she's never even met. She's using Yammer. This is the one that Rhea may have been referring to. You know, we all need to think about the tools that we're using. This is a quote from a keynote speaker that we had, and we're not quite there yet, but certainly it's a wake-up call to look at the technology that we're relying very heavily on. This is another provocative statement. This is a 25-year-old friend of mine said this statement, and really it's about thinking about the people who are communicating and messaging on your behalf. Are they in touch with the tools that people are using today? So information is coming at us like water through a fire hose, and this 140-character platform used by Twitter is really being pervasive through a lot of different channels. It makes it easier if we chunk things in smaller sound bites. It's also great if we use video and engage our customers in that process. Old Spice had a very successful social media campaign. The content was created entirely by their customers. They engaged them in a fun and visual format. And that's happening all over the world. Companies, instead of having these one-way communications, pushing information at people through static web pages and email blasts, they're engaging their customers, their members, their stakeholders in these two-way conversations. So I jumped into this a little bit. We created a Facebook fan page for one of our new initiatives, and ultimately our fans will create the content for this page. That's the idea, at least. So now what? It's a lot of information. Talk about getting it through a fire hose, and it may be a little bit overwhelming, but I hope I've inspired you to think about what's coming at us that we have no control over, and what are some of the possibilities that we may do to prepare for that. I'll tell you, please just dip your toe in the water. You don't have to know how to swim to begin with. I certainly didn't. I'm experimenting. I encourage you to do the same, and maybe you want to hire an intern who's going to push you into that pool. I'd be happy to continue the conversation, share some ideas. Would love to hear about some of the things that you're doing in your own organizations. This is where you can find me, and thanks for listening.